Thanks for joining us for the WikiTree Challenge reveal for Thomas MacEntee. We have Greg Clark, Celia Marsh, and we have a guest, Kay Knight, joining us. She's one of the challenge participants. And of course, we have our guest, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you. And as I told you, and I don't know if everyone knows, I did not peek. I did not look at anything because I really wanted it to be a true reveal. Yeah.
That's great. Well,
hopefully rewarding.
Yeah. We, some of you may know, or if you don't, we did have Thomas as a guest for the original challenge back in 2021. And that challenge, of course, the main focus was pushing out back as far as we could go. But this year, the challenge is all about what we call the CC7. So I'm just going to describe what that is in just a minute, but I did want to introduce Thomas in case somebody hasn't heard of him already. Thomas is a guy with a love of punk rock music, but also art history, who somehow fell into the technology industry years ago. He left a lucrative tech career to pursue his love of family history and genealogy. Technology and historical research seem like opposites, but tech people like Thomas are needed to guide you through the maze of options so you can find your ancestors and bring their stories to life. So Thomas has also been great as a speaker for us since we started the WikiTree Day and Symposium back in 2022. And this year he'll be coming back as a keynote speaker. So stay tuned for more information about that on our channels, social media channels. You'll be hearing more about that. If you don't know what the WikiTree Challenge is, it's our biggest ongoing community event. Every other week, a team of WikiTree volunteers grows connections for a special guest. And what is CC7? CC7 just stands for connection count within 7 degrees. So it's a person's number of connections on WikiTree. Connections are family relationships, and this includes relationships through marriage. Degrees measures the distance of relationships. So nuclear relatives, for example, parents, siblings, spouses, and children are 1 degree away. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, in-laws, and grandchildren are 2 degrees. So they're connected through 2 relationships, and relationship steps, and so on. So the higher your CC7 number is, the fuller the branches of your tree are. So that's kind of the explanation about what that all is. And of course, Greg is a developer of one of the apps that kind of helps us explore that number on our profiles. But I did just want to show real briefly here. This is the space page for the challenge. And it's linked into the top of the chat, the live chat, and also in the video description below. This is where you can find out all the information about the challenge week and including the score sheet, what we worked on. And this section is giving us kind of a summary of the locations we went to in this challenge. So remember, this is not direct ancestors. This is all the way through all the different branches, relationships, and the connections in the tree. So within 7 degrees, we went to all these different locations on our quest. So it's really a lot of fun to see where we went. Another section on this page is where our participants shared interesting finds that they found out while they're working on the tree. And we'll kind of go over some of those. And then we also have shared by the participants for the different conflicts, the different profiles that were in those conflict timeframes. So we can kind of see who those people are. So let's go first, though. I wanted to share on, let's see, I think it's probably about right. Sorry. Here we are. Okay, so since we started this year, this is our 9th challenge of the year. And here are the challenge guests and how they're related to each other, which is a kind of a fun thing to see, I think. So Millie Alexander, the DNA chef, of course, was our first guest. Leanne Kruger, Randy Seaver, Judy Munn, David Allen Lambert, and Ellen Thompson Jennings. They're all here. It's kind of a fun way to see it. But you can also see it, Thomas, from your profile. If you go down to your categories, you're in a category, WikiTree Challenge Guest Stars. If you go open that up, go to the category here, you can see all of those guest stars. So we have a button in all the categories on WikiTree, of course. We have the button for My Connections. So you can see how you're connected to other people in there. Of course, it's going to default to my view. So I'm just going to type in your profile ID, which of course we've all memorized. An easy one to remember, being number 1 there. So here you go.
I've been with WikiTree since they started. I mean, I worked with Chris Whitten and everything. So yeah, this is great. Yeah.
So here you go. Here are all of the challenge guests. So from the beginning, from 2021, here's how you're connected to them all. So this first section, you actually have a family relationship to these ones. And then down here, of course, your connections.
Right.
So it's fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Love to see that. And then just want to show, I guess we can go ahead and show off. Shall we show off the CC7 number?
Sure.
Oh, this is what I was going to show here. I forgot. I had it ready for us. So you'll see that on your profile now, the day after we got started, you were awarded the 1,000 Connections badge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
that's
within
great.
7 degrees, you have 1,000 connections. You started off with 823 profiles within 7 degrees.
Great.
And now, today, you're at 1,596.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow.
it's actually more than what we ended at.
Okay.
Here's the
We kept
score
on
sheet.
going.
Yeah.
Some people have problems stopping.
Yeah. We fall down a rabbit hole. You got to keep going. So when the challenge ended, of course, we had 1,524. So that's quite a few more that's been added since then.
Right.
So it's really fun. So we had 30 people participating in the challenge this past week.
Great. And thank you everyone for your help with that.
And everyone had a blast.
Great.
We use Discord for communication a lot. So it's, a really great tool to be able to quickly share information. And then one of the links at the top of the score sheet is a way to see the distances from you to all the challenge participants.
Okay.
So it's kind of a fun thing.
And it also shows if there were any change.
Yep.
No. Okay. Great.
It doesn't show if you were if you're already set as a common ancestor.
Right.
It doesn't show that. So
Okay.
like you dropped 2 or 3 degrees in my connection, but because we have a common ancestor, it won't show anything on this page.
Okay. Cool.
There was somebody who dropped quite a bit. I think like 6 connections, which was like kind of a neat thing to see. Where's she at? I guess. Oh, there she is. Corrine Goodman.
Oh, okay.
24 degrees to 18, which is that's great. So that's kind of a fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, to me, you're my 10th cousin once removed. Hey, cousin.
Yeah. Cousin, identical cousin. You'd have to be a certain age to understand that.
All right. So, Greg, I can drive, and or do you want to drive and show? You've got our net.
Well,
Looks like.
I've got my screen set up, so
Okay, I'll just switch it out here.
Okay, I'll start, and then there we go. So here is the CC7, the 7 degrees chart before at the very beginning. So each of these dots represents someone you're related to. So those 800 and some people, and the circles are just the distance away. So the inner circle are the first degree siblings, parents, children, and then the next would be grandparents and relative nuclear family of those people. And then at the end, we got this nice fuller one, so you can see all the different people of the different directions. So 625, those are the light blue ones at the 7th degree. So altogether, there's 1376 connections on this chart here. There's a few that, because your number is actually over that, it's 1500 and some, but because of the privacy, the way the app works, it's on a different server. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
So the profiles that are private, it can't go through for this.
So it's only showing 1376 connections.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, great.
There are actually others there, but because first of all, I was the one who generated the chart, so I don't have access to some of the private people that you would have access. So if you had done it, I think you would get the closer to 1500.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we did is we were able to map out your relatives, and I'm guessing you like maps as much as.
Yes, I mean, what genealogist doesn't? Yes,
exactly. I mean, I've always been a sucker for maps, and I expect you are as well. So this one here shows a map of your ancestors, and they're color coded by the century. So this is of the world view, and majority of them are the dark blue for the 18th century and the gold for the 19th. And then there's a green one down there in Florida.
That is my father. Yeah,
that's your father. That. Okay, that would make sense.
Father. Yes,
that would make sense. So I zoomed in for all of these ones. I gave a world view and then a Europe, a Europe and then a North America. So here's a zoom in of that same map, but just in the European.
Sure.
And the arrows indicate our migration from birth to death, basically, I guess. And then here's the same sort of map zoomed in on North America.
Right.
And then what we did for each of your great grandparents, we did a map of all of the people in their CC7. So some of the dots on this will be people who are beyond the 7th degree for you. That'd be your 8th or 9th degree. But then many of the ones would be your 1st to 5th. So there's a core group that will be represented on all of these maps. So they're very similar in nature. But all of these maps are in a Google Drive, which Azure will share with you. So you'll have access to all of them, and you can explore them all later. But basically, there's always a cluster in Europe. There's a huge cluster in North America, and it varies the intensity of each of those as we go through each of your grandparents. And sometimes there's someone in Australia or New Zealand, and sometimes there's not.
Right.
Which is interesting. So this is your MacEntee, your paternal line, your Y DNA line, and zooming in on Europe there.
Right. And
then the North American explosion along eastern seaboard there, up into New Brunswick and a little bit Nova Scotia. So that's kind of neat. And then De Groot. And these are very similar, so I am just going to cycle through them. This one here, for example, the Slattery, doesn't look like there was the Australia-New Zealand connection didn't make it to that map, and it's a little sparser in Europe.
Right.
And again, not as many of the direct or the CC7 for Slattery made it out to the West Coast. So it's interesting to see some of the different patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And now Austin, lots so there's a good chunk in the Nordic countries there. And I think the next one, or Did I pass the one?
Which one?
I thought there was a Hindenburg. That's the one I was thinking.
Hindenburg, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with my Hindenburg, in fact, this is so weird. Is one of the names that came up that I did see on the postings, I didn't peek, was Herring. And wouldn't you know, I get an Ancestry DNA message last week from a cousin whose last name is Herring, and he discovered me, and it wasn't through any WikiTree publicity. It just was a coincidence. And so the thing is, most of my Hindenburgs a lot of them now are in Denmark, and they were on the borderline. And so, so that really doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, and there we go.
Yeah, and also the concentration on the East Coast, as I was telling Azure before we started. I mean, I have generations in New York. They did, when the Erie Canal it was finished in 1825, a lot of families went west. Mine did not. They went north, up to Lowville, Watertown area. So I don't have a lot of westward migration. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that is a pattern that we have seen in previous challenges and other families. Yeah, so that is interesting. So the way I generated those maps is with a tool through WikiTree Plus. And are you familiar with WikiTree Plus?
I am not.
Okay, so it's Alesh. Have you met Alesh?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Our programmer in chief looks after all the database and the servers. So he's programmed this tool, which is basically a way to query the WikiTree database and make it to really jump through hoops. And so with a query, we could actually query all of the profiles that were generated from the WikiTree challenge. And this gives you a list of 1,411 that were worked on during the week. And again, because this is on a server, this isn't on the primary WikiTree server. So these are public ones.
Right.
So there'll be another 100 or so that will be private. You'll have access to, but they won't be on the server. And one of the cool things about it is that when you get a list of profiles, and you can query it with lots of things. Like you could query for people who were married twice, who lived in London in the 18th century, something like things like that. If you wanted to be really specific to look for or to zero in on certain people, you can click on the map, and it automatically generates the map.
Perfect.
And then you can zoom in or out. And when you're working with the live map, as opposed to the PDF one, you can click on any one of those dots, and it'll pop up the profile, the details about the profile. And if you're in an area here where there's more than one dot,
of course,
all of those profiles that would be in that area would be there.
My Rusas, my Rusas, my Rosas, my Roosevelts, yes. So.
Yeah. So if we wanted to figure out who's this lone person over here in Nova Scotia, we could just click on that.
Right.
And Edward Clooney. And we could open up his profile and check him out. So So it's a very cool application that you might want to explore.
That's great.
Yeah. So one of the other things when you're at your profile, so there you see, I've got an extension installed. It's called the WikiTree browser extension. And one of the things it gives me, just like you saw when Azure was sharing her screen, is it shows you how we're connected. So I'm 20 degrees away from you, but I'm also a cousin, ninth cousin once removed.
Right.
And when you're on your profile, one of the options is to view tree apps. And so these are apps that have been created by WikiTree members who develop apps such as myself. And one of the ones that I have done is there's a fan chart app.
That's great. Yes.
Which you can expand to whatever distance you want, and you can open up any person on the fan chart and then go straight to their profile or generate a fan chart with them.
I love the color coding you can do in this one.
Yeah, there's the settings gear right here. There's lots of options where you can customize it. You can change the dates, places, and you can color code it. I had the default set to color code by grandparents, but you could color code it by great grandparent if you wanted to.
Perfect.
Or you can color code it by location, by birth country. I haven't added the feature to customize these colors, so you get.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
that may not be.
It's vibrant.
It's vibrant. Well, my excuse is that I'm not colorblind, but I say I'm hard of color.
Color weak.
I'm color weak. Yeah, I'm hard of color. So my color palette of choice is garish.
Yeah.
Some people like pastel. I like garish because then it really jumps out at me. I know that they're different colors because and then you can highlight them by different things. So if you wanted to highlight, say, your X chromosome inheritance, you could do that. And I have to highlight. I have to check the check box, and there we go. Okay. So there's your. But going back to the people we share and our common ancestors.
Click on the, there you go.
There we go, yeah. So we're ninth cousins because we share a ninth great set of grandparents.
Yes, the Leroys. The Leroys were actually linked to the Huguenots, but this is way back in France. But I also have some French-Canadian ancestors that came down along the Hudson, and
so he was originally a soldier from the Carignan-Salière regiment,
right.
And his wife, her name was Claude, but that's a woman's name, it can be. And she was a fille de roi. So
she was okay, excellent.
She was.
Okay.
She was one of the filles de roi. She arrived. She arrived in New France, in Quebec City, July. Where was it? I think it was July 3rd. Yes, July 3rd of 68.
1668. Okay.
It's 1668, not 1960. July 3rd, and she was married just a few months later, on September 3rd.
Okay.
So,
they had to have time to put the bands to post the marriage bands.
That's right. Yes, you needed at least 3 weeks and all that. So that was interesting. So, but when we went back to it, you're actually related to that couple multiple times. And so I wanted to show you one of the apps I've created is something I call Ancestor Webs. And I created it because of my French Canadian, my whole maternal side is French Canadian. And as you know, there's a lot of, especially with the early French settlers, there was a lot of intermarrying. And so there's a little bit of pedigree collapse. So the Ancestor Webs app allows you to show how two people are related to each other and all of the different paths that go to them. So here's Simeon Leroy.
And there's Hugo Freer. Yes.
And there's the Freers. So now, uncharacteristically, I'm related to this ancestral couple by one direct path. There's only one path for me,
right? Okay,
which is unusual with most of my French ancestors.
Yeah.
But you have 5, count them, 5 different roots.
Well, Hugo Freer is my Huguenot connection. He arrived in New Paltz, New York. His house is still standing, started in 1699, stone house. So he is my 9th great grandfather. And he was one of the founders of New Paltz. And so that doesn't surprise me because his wife was a Leroy. And in fact, Freer was Lefebvre, brother, as far as I know in French. But I can see where there wouldn't be, you're direct that way. But then I have 5 connections. Wow.
Yes, because Simeon and Claude, their daughter Marianne, is your direct great grandmother, whatever, how many greats. And then through 3 of her children, Hugo, Elizabeth, and Jonas,
right,
you have 5 unique grandchildren of hers that you're descended from, and that's the 5 different paths. So
wow.
I just thought that it's kind of
it is neat. I mean, it's kind of geeky neat.
Exactly.
If you're a genealogy geek, it would be very neat. Yeah. Great.
So there you have it. And I was when Azure was talking about the Challenge Star connections, I looked it up, and you are my closest connection of all the WikiTree challengers from this this year. And the one the person we were just talking about, Lorraine Schultz,
yes,
is also directly connected to me.
She and I have a Van Slyck connection, and she's written a book on the Van Slycks. I mean, that was her big book.
Neat.
And so we knew we were cousins for a long time. And the funny thing is, her maiden name was McGinnis, and but that's not related to my McGinnis's. So that was the weird thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Wow.
Okay. Should we talk about the interesting finds now, Azure?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. So now I have, let me just see if I can get everything set up here. Okay. Let's go over to, there we go. So interesting finds. We picked out, well, originally we picked out 7, then we added an 8th. So we've got 8 interesting finds.
Okay.
And some of these people I think you might be familiar with.
All right.
So they may be
You
more.
may already even know what we're going to share, but
yeah, that's right. So they might be more interesting to us than they are to you. We'll see how that goes. So the first interesting find was one of your great uncles, Harold F. MacEntee, went fishing with a friend, but unfortunately on the way home their car skidded and hit a tree. Your great uncle was injured, but the person who was driving was killed instantly. So that's very sad.
So is that Keuka Lake? I'll have to see, because I'm wondering if it's Canosa Lake. I'll have to see, but that's interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Had you heard that story before?
No, I had not. No.
Oh. No. Okay.
There's probably a newspaper. There might be a newspaper clipping.
Probably. Yeah.
Scroll down and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the profile there might be
on the profile.
Yeah.
Okay. I was looking for that. I didn't see one.
Oh, guess not.
Okay.
Move this out of the way.
Yeah, unless someone put it on the memorial. And scroll down.
The memorial.
Yeah. Sometimes people attach things on the memorial.
It's his memorial, though. It's the other guys.
Yeah, it could be.
The other guys.
It might be.
Sorry, other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which we have no.
I wonder if that profile was created at all.
Yeah. No, the thing is, yeah, maybe not. I can research it. I'm just out of curiosity. I had never heard that. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Keuka Lake is kind of in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Okay. Ulmer, who was
Fran,
yeah. We'll have to ask Fran some details about.
And maybe Fran, let's see, is she in the chat? Is she in the live chat?
Oh, she might be.
Doesn't look like
she
hasn't commented. So, Fran, if you're out there,
let us know. So the next person.
Okay, I just found out Keuka Lake is one of the minor Finger Lakes. So now I know where it is. Right.
Now you know where it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Great wine.
Yeah.
So the next interesting find was your maternal step-grandfather's stepfather. Okay, so that is Ivor here. So I've got a little, I call it my Monopoly cards that I've made. Can you see this in the top
Yeah,
corner?
I see it. Yeah, I see it.
So that shows how you're connected there. So your grandmother's husband, so as a stepfather or step-grandfather, his stepfather was the person in question. So that's Ivor Arthur Lambert Larson. He's a musician on the ship, the SS Stockholm. Here we have a picture of the ship.
Great.
And so I thought that was interesting. So it sailed back and forth between 1915 and at least 1925.
Sure.
He petitioned to become a naturalized citizen in 1924 in New York, but sadly 10 years later drowned in Brooklyn.
Okay.
This guy, when we were researching him, it was Arna.
Yes.
He turns out to have a whole new family in Sweden that had no idea about his American family.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
They got an unfortunate surprise when one of us, somebody reached out to them. It all worked out okay, but it was a little surprising for us at the time.
The next one is your grandfather's brother's wife, Anna McPhillips Austin.
I know this story very well. In fact,
do,
it is
eh?
one of
Okay.
my most popular lectures, The Mysterious Death of Anna McPhillips.
Is it?
It is, yeah. It's I researched it. All I was given, I was given her photo, which is mysterious because it is. She's wearing a cloche hat in the 1920s. You can't even see her full face. And all I was told is she was hit by a runaway car in the Bronx. No date or anything. So I had to go from this photograph and build the story. And you want to know what the weirdest thing is? I found her death certificate. Says she was hit by a pleasure automobile, which means it was not commercial. The man that was driving it swerved to miss someone in the street and wound up pinning this woman against the building. And so I'm looking, and this is May 8th, 1925. So the first thing I find is a story in the New York Times about a runaway car in the Bronx where kids had played with the brakes and it ran down a hill and it hit all these people at a transit center, but I couldn't find Anna McPhillips' name. So I thought, well, maybe she died a few days later. Wouldn't you know it, the New York Evening Post had a story about a second runaway car in the Bronx on the same day. I mean, how many and that was the one that killed my relative. How many runaway cars could you have in the Bronx on May 8th, 1925?
Well, did they talk to the kids? Because
they did. They did. No, they did. But that was the much longer story in the New York Times because it hit about 6 or 7 people, but they all survived.
I'm just wondering if it was the same kids doing it.
It was not. No. This was actually a man was driving because I found the court case where the family won $10,000, which was equivalent to about $140,000 these days. So they actually sued the driver. So it was different. But how weird of a coincidence is that? You know,
that is wild.
And I found the New York Times article before the New York Evening Post article. You know, and I was freaked out. But no, I do a whole hour lecture, and that's great. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing case study of how you can just take a picture with so little information and actually find all this out online. Yeah,
that's neat. That's neat.
Yeah, and here's the link to the death certificate image if you want to go there, Greg. It's in the private chat.
Private chats. Let me go.
Just as a correction, that's Gardiner, New York, not
Gardiner. Yes, I saw that.
I
meant to.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
It's a death certificate.
Yeah. Auto accidental. Yeah.
Yep. That's the one for Anna Austin. Yeah. Anna McPhillips. Yes.
Yes.
And it says that. It says ruptured spleen, hemorrhagic trauma. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I have.
Wow. That site is a great resource for New York City birth, marriage, and death records. If anybody doesn't know.
Oh, I know. Yes.
We go there a lot.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Wish all places had.
Yes, I know.
Considering right now with New York State, anything upstate, it's a 2 to 3 year wait to get records.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
$22 a piece.
And how much?
22.
22. Yeah. Oh, wow. The next person.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going to go on, but did you want to?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So the fourth interesting find, John Warren MacEntee, 11? Oh, that's probably was the owner for 20 years of the Midway Park. So that another one of your great uncles.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Had you been to Midway Park?
No, I have not. I've been to Gardiner. Just Gardiner is a mountaintop community, and there's a lot of endogamy up there. Because it was on a mountain. So a lot of these families are a lot of intermarrying with the MacEntees and all of that group up there.
So have you met these great uncles that were?
No, I met John, the oldest one, but not this one. There's another John who would be my grandfather's brother. And I do remember meeting him, but I never met any of the other siblings aside my grandfather and his wife. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I am in touch with my cousin who lives in Post Falls, Idaho. And that is, on that side. And but no, I did not know this about John Warren. So
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, great for fly fishing. So I looked on the map for
Shawangunk Kill. Yeah, because there's a whole Shawangunk Mountains as part of where Gardner is, and it sits above Ellenville. It sits above New Paltz, and that's right near where I was born. So yeah.
Oh, neat.
And I believe she has all the newspaper articles added in there. So
yeah. Yes. So I just found this one of the 50th wedding anniversary, and I thought, it's nice that it has that, but I think it's hilarious. It's obviously clipped from a paper, so you get the socks ad.
Oh yeah, you get everything. Yeah, that's great. And Kingston, New York was the first New York State capital before Albany, and Kingston would have been the big city. So yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I kept seeing Kingston showing up over and over again.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, there's a Kingston, Ontario, which I'm very familiar with.
Of course there is. Yeah.
Right. But when I was doing my wife's family history, and she's Italian, a lot of her relatives from her parents' hometown either came to Aurelia in Ontario, where I live, or they went to Kingston. New York. And I was thinking, what's the draw? Because it's in the middle of nowhere, isn't it?
Well, it's on the Hudson. Is a lot of it, and but it's also is big New York Dutch. I mean, I have people buried from the 1600s in graveyard at the church there in downtown. But the thing is, there was cement factories. Kingston Cement was known worldwide in the late 1800s. So there was a lot of industry there. And
So that would make sense then.
Yeah.
The next is Richard Wiggs.
Wow.
So Richard Wiggs, let's see if there's Richard. So he is your father's brother's wife's great grandfather.
Huh.
You can see that connection there.
Okay.
And his claim. I guess I'm looking.
He was admitted to the Choctaw Nation as part of the Dawes Committee, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So his second wife was a Choctaw.
Okay.
He ended up marrying 3 times. His first wife passed away shortly after giving birth to a son, I think. And he married a second time, and then eventually a third time. But yeah, in that case, being admitted to the Choctaw Nation made it all the way to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Yeah. So because from the, where is it? Is it here? So this is an article, about his. This was written after his after he passed away. So about his life and how he actually ended up founding a town, Oakland. It doesn't actually. It mentions his connection with the Choctaw, but the Choctaw Commission, or the Dawes Committee, I guess, the law that was passed allowed Indian women who married American citizens to become American citizens.
Okay.
But apparently it was also used in reverse. So because he married a Choctaw Native woman, then he was admitted to be a Choctaw member of the Choctaw Nation. But that was challenged, but it went all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
So you've got someone who's made a court
So
case.
now the next one, number 6, William Edward MacEntee over there. That's the one that I've met. That's the one that I met.
That's the one you met.
He moved out to Cody, Wyoming, and raised his family there. And that's how my cousin is now in Post Falls, Idaho. His daughter. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So what's interesting about him is he fought in not just 1 but 3 different battles or wars.
It was World War II, the Korean conflict, and the Vietnam conflict. Yeah.
So we've got some nice stickers on the profile there.
Great.
And,
yeah, I know where he's buried. He's buried back home in my hometown in the Veterans
Nice.
Cemetery in Liberty, New York. So yeah,
there we are.
yep.
Staff Sergeant? SS?
That should be, yeah. I think that's Staff Sergeant. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very impressive. And there's his obituary.
Okay.
Well, on top of, along with all his military service, he was also postal worker, woodworking, and into woodworking and masonry. He taught woodworking and masonry in a community college.
Great.
That's pretty cool. Nice to give back that way too. Then we have a Gregory.
Yes. I know my Uncle Greg. I knew him very well. One of my biggest regrets is not interviewing him before he passed. But I knew that he was one of the developers for BART, B-A-R-T.
Yes.
He was an engineer, and also I remember his model railroads, and so I actually used to house sit for him when I lived in California. I would take Bart out to Fremont, where his place was, and house sit for him. So yeah,
that's
neat.
Cool.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And what little do I have him? Oh, I knew that you knew him because I found this profile up that you made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, he was the last one of that generation, and it was a big deal when he passed. Yeah,
bittersweet, eh?
Yeah.
Aww. Very nice. And look at, it's so amazing when you see them so young, eh?
Yeah, it is. It is.
And then, oh, wait a second. Maybe I need to refresh the page to get number 8. There's 8. There's 8. Frank George, how would you say that?
Schursch.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's see, there's Frank. Your grandfather's wife's grandfather.
Yes.
So he must have been a bit of a character.
I don't know much about him at all. No.
Okay. No. So as a child, he and a friend left their hometown to go to the St. Louis Exposition. Decided to just take off.
Right? Yeah.
Before his first marriage, he went by an alias.
DeBruce.
Named DeBruce.
That was fun to sort out.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
And then his second wife, his fiance, did not want to marry him. And actually, there was a whole newspaper article. Girl balks at marriage, refuses to wed man after white slavery.
Yes. Oh, wow.
The unwillingness of Miss Sophie Kohler to become the bride of Frank Schursch after the charge against him.
Right.
So, but
I don't think he was Italian, actually. But
I don't know. They said so in the article.
I don't remember that when I was researching his family.
The funny thing is, this is where I think the DeBruce comes from. DeBruce was nearby in New York where I grew up. There was a DeBruce. Or somewhere in New York State, so he must have used that name for an alias surname. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it just like my great grandfather that went by an alias, and I had to do some research about that. But just the same, this gentleman in his marriage record lists his mother's name correctly. On his marriage record.
It was very helpful.
It was very helpful because it was a different last name. And so that just like, okay, this is the guy.
Yeah. You might lie about yourself, but you're not going to lie about your mama, right?
That's right.
It's standards, people. Standards.
Yeah. So when I was looking at things to pull up to sort of the show and tell, I clicked on 2 newspaper articles. So one was, of course, the girl box at marriage, and the other one was the obituary. Frank Schursch,
there's another one.
Husband of the late Sophie Schursch.
Kohler. So he did wind up marrying her.
I guess he won over her in the end.
I guess, yeah. Wow.
I hope it was a happier marriage than it started out.
Wow.
But there is a newspaper article linked for the 1904 line about him because the police were called and.
Wow.
Oh,
it's right there.
Walking to the fair? There we go. Let's have a look-see at that.
Yeah.
Boys walking to the fair. Yeah. Parents
didn't
are
tell
anxious.
anybody.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah.
12 years old. Yeah. Frank Scherf.
Okay. Mrs. Kate Search of, and then it continues.
Number 192 Wallabout Street.
Wow.
Well, maybe it was Walkabout Street. He just
Amazing.
went on Walkabout.
That's
Yeah.
a heck of a walk they were thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
But it has what they were wearing and everything.
Oh yeah.
That's neat.
This is their Amber Alert.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It is. Huh.
Oh my God, he was wearing knickerbockers.
Well, that's what you were.
There we
You
are.
didn't get long pants until you were older.
Knickerbockers.
You did not get long pants until you were older.
Oh, you didn't, eh?
No, you didn't. No, if you've seen the movie Anti-Mame, you would know that.
Oh, okay then. So that was it for the interesting finds. I hope you found those interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's great.
Now, Kay put together this free space page, and I don't know if you've seen it before, but Kay, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about it, and I can just scroll through it if you want.
Okay, this is from back in 2021, but
Okay.
I don't think you'd seen it before.
No.
What I found is these are some of the maps that show Cayuga County.
Right.
And so why did people move there? And who all moved there? So it talks about maybe why they moved there. Scroll down a little bit, and the towns and lots. As I was working on some of this stuff, scroll down more, Greg.
Okay, sorry.
There you go. Okay. Back in 21, some of the guest stars were you and Catherine Wilson and Tim Jansen. Well, if you go back far enough, you probably all came from that Montgomery County Tribes Hill area. And you can see where the Shores lived. I'm pointing on them out. That works real good. The Root family, Woodworth's Ferry. That's interesting to me because that's my ancestor.
Okay.
And then we have roots a little bit further south.
Right.
Scroll down a little bit more, Greg.
Yep. Okay. There we go.
And we'll get a little bit more detailed. This is from the land ownership map in Cayuga County in 1853 or 55. And so here we see.
You have a question here.
I think Mrs. Putman.
As a widow.
This is the Jordan Cato Plank Road, and along this road we have the Marble family, the Sklar family. We have Spinning.
Yes.
We have Burke over here. My great grandfather. Some of it's not showing here. This is strange. But anyway, Sebastian Gonzalez Putman.
Yes.
Was one of the guys that lived there. He's your sixth cousin.
Right.
My great grandfather witnessed his signature on his will.
Oh, amazing.
Which I thought was, so that's why these are interesting to me, because I've been into looking at the land records. You know what it's like at this time in New York.
Yes.
This area right here, I think the church that they went to was founded about 1853.
Okay.
But these people were buying land in this area in the 1820s and 1830s. So it's kind of.
Well, part of it is also, remember that, James Fenimore Cooper, who wrote Last of the Mohicans, and that his father was a land speculator in New York. In fact, the book that was written about his father won a Pulitzer like 20 years ago. But the whole thing is his father was a huge land speculator for Yankees in New England, trying to bring them westward to New York. So, yeah.
Yeah, people think that there were the land grants from the Revolutionary War, but the guys that got those grants just sold them out to other people.
Exactly.
Like the Cooper.
Yeah. And many people. Go ahead.
You do know that the surveyor was really a fan of the classics. In fact, I think that was a DeWitt who was related to Cutterback.
And there's a Cato there. There's Cato Four Corners, and yeah, I see that. Yeah. Well, a lot of the Yankees. Go ahead.
Cato Four Corners is now called Meridian.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to say that a lot of the Yankees came over to the Beekman patent in Dutchess County, and then they moved up. They moved up the Hudson to these areas. So.
Yeah, and you get into reading some of the books, and then here's the land transactions for who some of the people were.
Right.
The
roots. And the poor Putnams, the sad part is that they often were called Putnams, which were English. Yeah. And so I wound up having to research both of them. I always thought it was my dyslexia. And, but it wasn't, It's just that it was. I've even had Putnam ancestors have the wrong surname on their gravestone because Putnam is just that's the common.
My family is.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them fixed for you on Find a Grave.
But in reverse.
Yeah. Wow.
But are they two separate families, or
they
are they just?
Putnam is English. NAM is English. Putman comes from Pootman, Pootman, which is Dutch. And they are distinctly different, but you get this intermixing mostly through error.
Errors, right?
Yeah.
Generations of people with our ability to spell.
I know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't realize I had dyslexia until I was in high school, and then I was always saying viola instead of voila.
Oh, voila, viola, yes. That's right. Very cool.
In fact, you can see it even got misspelled in the land records.
Sure, I see that. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, thank you. That's great.
A lot of work. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So do you want to share some of the military profiles, Greg? There's the Von Ron one from.
Well, I know that one very well.
So I just wanted to show you what we did.
Yeah, so
on WikiTree, what the profile looks like now. It's towards the end.
Okay, I was going to say that one I wasn't prepared.
It's the last one.
Yeah. He's the last one there. Kenneth Gerald Rimbaud.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
He's got so many names. I just
So here's his profile now on WikiTree.
Okay.
We're honoring his service with the sticker for the Iraq conflict, and so just.
Yeah, I've written the story up. I actually wrote it and had it printed for his mother. He was killed by an IED. He was only 20 years old. It was a big tragedy. I think he was the first Iraq War death in Sullivan County, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And on my blog, I have a whole story that I run every Memorial Day devoted to him. Yeah, it was a real tragedy for my family.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share what we did there. Another one was the let's see here. Let me just make sure where I am. Oh, Angelo Joseph Crizzo.
Okay.
So this is
there we are.
Okay.
Greg.
This is what took us into Italy.
Okay.
Italy.
So the night before the attack on Pearl Harbor, he celebrated his birthday.
Oh, wow.
And it's just really interesting. There's the newspaper article is linked in there.
Greg, do you mean to have it on reading mode?
I did I did because it made it less busy when there was images on the side, but I'll take it off.
Yeah. Okay.
Prefer it off.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
so so that there's that one. That was kind of interesting.
Can you go back to the military listing of all the military that you found?
Sure. There we go.
Okay, I'm just looking. There's one that I don't see. So I'll have to look at that and probably whatever to do to fix that. So it was a McCrickert. He was also 20 years old.
Oh,
he had it enlisted right at the end of the war, and then he died in a plane crash in Lindenhurst, New Jersey. in 1946. I have the condolence certificate signed by President Harry Truman.
Oh, wow.
So he would be more on my mother's side through the McGinnises, and but I'll have to look for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
You guys did so much work on this. This is amazing.
Yeah, we have so much fun doing this and really reaching out there, going all those different countries. And Hillary just wanted me to share, she's going to try to do some more. She actually has a connection to you.
Yes, and I'm curious as to what that is. I would love to know what that is.
Yeah, so that she's going to be working more on that. And so you'll probably be hearing from her. Yeah, that was really fun to hear, because I know you guys have met at conferences before.
We have met.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I wanted to, if I could present for a minute, I wanted to show something related to what was I going to say? I'm going to go ahead and present to Anna McPhillips, this woman. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And can you see this ancestor sketch?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on. Oh, there it is. Let me share this. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, so what I've gotten to do is, you know how we always say we're going to write that big family history book when we're done with our research? Insert laughter, right? Well, what I've been doing for each of my ancestors are these small, maybe 5 to 10 page sketches, because my theory is, if I do this and I string them together, I got a book,
Yeah.
But I can start to share this now rather than afterwards. So basically, I took her tree from my heritage. I took the life summary. I took it from Ancestry, but then I put it through ChatGPT, and I said, rewrite it in an engaging style. And so basically they wrote her story. Then what I did is I took the timeline from Ancestry, how they have all the facts. I could have done this through WikiTree, whatever. And then this is the fun part. She was born in 1887 in Manhattan. I'm like, well, my family would like to know what was life like in Manhattan in 1887.
That's great.
I said to ChatGPT, basically the command was social history Manhattan 1887, and this is what it gives. And so then I did the same thing for when she died. What was it like in Bronx in New York in 1925? And then again, I have a source citation, because I truly believe that we need to be more transparent in the use of AI.
Yeah.
And then finally here, because I was flummoxed by the definition of pleasure automobile.
Yes.
But this is what you can use AI for.
Yeah.
Basically this. And then I want to show you, this is the photo I had of her.
Oh, wow.
And that's all I was given. I was given this, and this is on the back. Now, I knew Dorothy and Eugene as my great aunt and great uncle. The name is spelled Maurice, but it's pronounced Morris.
Oh.
And then I have her birth return.
Wow.
I have her marriage certificate, and this is the New York Evening Post article about her car accident. Now, this Louise is supposed to be a Lewis. This is a typo. It was a gentleman that actually hit her. And then what I did is, there's that same death certificate that you had. And then what I did, I'm a big believer in getting those family stories that are up in her head down in writing. So this is what I did. When I received this photo in June of 1977, I was told a story by my great-grandmother. So I have a source for it. It says, Death of Anna Austin told verbally by Therese McGinnis Austin at Gramesville to Thomas MacEntee, as recalled by me on 19, because I think that we need source citations for family stories.
Definitely.
And this is the thing that I'm also believe in. I have a key here, because 50 years from now, someone's not going to know who I mean by grandma.
Yeah.
Also in my family, no one went by their own name. My Aunt Julia her name was Pudgy. My mother Jacqueline was Susie. And you know how I had an Uncle Lawrence was Butch. I mean, the thing is, this gives them a reference and also locations. How many times have we mentioned something, and even based on a landmark, and if you didn't grow up there, you wouldn't know. And then finally, I close out with contact information.
That's great.
So this is a concept that I'm going to start teaching later part of the year, and I think this might be the one for the symposium. This might be the lecture, and these are. Do you think you find this format attractive? It's easy to do.
Yeah, it looks really great. I'm really interested in seeing how that.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is that I'm thinking, this way, if I wanted, I could share this PDF or print it out at a family reunion. Or but once you string 10 or 20 of them together, damn it, you do have a book.
Yeah.
And so I think it's that whole idea of, how do you eat an elephant one small bite at a time?
Yes.
I think the whole idea of a big family history book is just, it can get depressing.
Overwhelming.
Overwhelming. Yeah. So that's basically so. But thanks for letting me share that. Yes.
Oh yeah. We love hearing from you, Thomas. There's so many comments in the chat about everybody loves your presentations and the handouts you have. We love hearing from you. I did just want to point out the name studies. You mentioned you saw them in the social media.
Yes.
So there is that one. The herring, study has a link to this Baden-Württemberg one-place study. So that's really an interesting connections going on there. I just wanted to point that out.
Very good.
That was fun.
Yeah. Well, this is great. This has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much for allowing us to.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and I'll see you all at the symposium. Yeah.
Okay.
We need to get our developers thinking about what Thomas just showed us.
If it could extract a sketch somehow, and it would do that, and so that's just it. There's never an easy button in genealogy. There's never one. But right now, what you have to do is you have to have a basic knowledge of Word or Google Docs and be able to paste it in and format it. But I think it's a great concept.
We do have the app that we have, the WikiTree Sorcerer right now. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it takes the profile from Ancestry or Family Search, and it actually takes all the sources and it writes a biography for you.
Yeah.
So that's a start.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, I'm going to take my leave, but I really appreciate all your time and your hard work. I really do.
Thank you so much, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas.
Okay.
We look forward to hearing your talk in the symposium.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. And I just wanted to close out by sharing the challenge for Lisa Louise Cook was kicked off today and wraps up next Thursday. Her reveal is on the 25th of July, and the challenge for Jill Ball is the registration is open. So if anybody's interested in that, we'd love to hear from you. And thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you around. Bye.
Bye.